Yo, how's it going, everybody? It's the Asura, and this is a very special video because CBR is back at it one more time, but I had to bring along one of the fellow YouTubers, anime YouTubers, who has kind of been going at CBR for a while, and one that y'all have suggested me to collab with ever since I got into Jojo's, and that's xForts. Go ahead and introduce yourself, bro.
All right, what's going on, guys? Apparently, I'm talking to the Asura now. I don't know if I'm talking to Mass, the Asura. This dude's all over the place, changing his channel art, changing his name every 2 weeks. But anyway, I guess we're going with the Asura today. Okay, what's up, man? So yes, for sure, me and CBR, like, we got kind of like an anime rivalry of a lifetime going on. I think the first CBR video was like 2019, maybe a little bit before. And it's kind of funny because I haven't had any direct interaction with CBR on social media or in the comments or anything, but after I made my second CBR video, their Jojo articles slowed down tremendously because like I kind of sent like a little bit of hate to him on Twitter, but we should preface this video with that. Don't go after the authors of the articles or anything, because most of these guys are probably just workhorses for CBR, and they're like, hey, Tim, I need a JoJo article at 3 p.m. today, and this guy's like, I haven't even read the damn series, but all right, here we go. So these guys are probably just doing their job or whatever. So, but it is fun to see how blissfully unaware they are of the series and the comments they make on it, and just, you know, make a commentary in that way. So again, guys, don't go after these article writers at all. They're probably just doing their job, but it's still funny content.
Yeah. No, it is. People are like, oh, why do you talk about it? It's just more attention for their article. It's like, it's free real estate for us.
It's free real estate.
This is easy content. Like,
yeah,
it's just incredible. But the first one we wanted to get into, we're going to get into more JoJo themed ones after this. But for the first segment of this video, we're looking at the 10 best manga of all time, according to my anime list. So this is the top 10 that CBR took from my anime list. I was wishing it was CBR itself. Let's just get right into it then, with number 10, and that is Kingdom. Okay, so I've read Kingdom. I read up to its Coalition arc, which for me is the best war arc in all of manga. Now, I know it's ongoing. I haven't bothered to catch up now in like almost a year, which is like I've had a whole year to catch up and I just haven't gotten around to it. But last time I checked, I'm pretty sure Kingdom is pretty high up on my own personal list as well, just because I think it's a really good series. It's actually my number 10 as well, so it's spot on.
Have not read Kingdom. I probably have not read a lot of series on this, but the only thing I know about Kingdom is that the King of Lightning absolutely loves this series, and I love King of Lightning, so usually whenever he makes a Kingdom video, I'll click on it, but I just kind of enjoy him for his character and his energy, and I'm like, I don't know what the hell's going on with this manga, but King of Lightning praises it as one of the best series of all time, so I'll take his word for it.
No, yeah, it has a very strong cast. It has really good world building. The protagonist is nice, and as I said, the arc, the Coalition arc, is one of the best arcs in manga that I've read. Period. So it's a really good series.
It's a pretty old series as well, right? Like it's maybe sort of like that Vagabond like type beat where kind of the author doesn't release it regularly. Am I right on that?
I don't know if Kingdom has hiatus. I don't think that's what it is, because it's around like 600 chapters. So yeah, I think it releases on maybe a monthly schedule, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, I know it's pretty long. It's been going on for a while, and like everyone that reads it says it's amazing. So I guess it's just one of those niche series that people know is good, but since maybe it hasn't had an anime or something, it hasn't reached like that mainstream success yet, at least in the West. So
yeah, so the thing is it's very big in like China and stuff like that, and it does have an anime, just it sucks.
Gotcha.
And Kingdom, I don't think has had an official Western release either, which is the thing.
Looking at it, it's kind of like a Dynasty Warriors vibe.
Yeah, Chinese dynasties and all that is kind of the scenario of war with Kingdom. But all right, number 10, number 9, Slam Dunk.
All right, guys.
Have you read Slam Dunk?
So before we started this recording, I told Astra that my favorite manga of all time was in this top 10 list, but I didn't tell him which one it was.
No way!
And he was going through it, and he was like, no, you don't read One Piece. He goes, Slam Dunk, no shot. Slam Dunk is my favorite manga of all time. I read it for the first time in 2015, and since then, I've reread it 3 times. I try to reread it at least once a year, just kind of to remind myself, because sometimes like I'll look over it at my shelf, and I'll be like, I've been reading a lot of stuff, like, is Slam Dunk still my favorite? And every time I read it, it's still the best thing I've read all year. It's...
Wow.
Yeah, to me, Slam Dunk is an incredible series, like, pretty much the definition of timeless. The characters, the writing, the art, it is the perfect manga. At least to me, I know sports anime aren't really everyone's vibe,
thing.
I guess. Yeah, they don't really
Yeah.
like it. But to me, it's an incredible series, and that's pretty much just leave it at that. And if you haven't read Slam Dunk, I don't know if you've covered a lot of like sports anime or manga on your channel, if that's not really your thing. But if you are gonna read any, it should be Slam Dunk.
Yeah, no, I agree. I read Slam Dunk earlier this year, caught up because I know it was made by the same author as Vagabond.
Yep, you know.
Right, and Real as well. And Slam Dunk I have it below Kingdom on my list, but for me, it's my favorite. It's my second favorite shonen of all time, and it's my favorite sports series of all time. As a basketball fan, and just seeing his artwork improve throughout it all. And Sakuragi is a great protagonist, great comedy. It's a beautiful series.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So the first time I read it was back in 2015, and I was really on like a sports anime binge. I had just read like Kuroko no Basket. I got caught up with Haikyuu, and then the thing that came after Kuroko by the same author, I think it was called Robot X Laser Beam. It was a golf manga. So I just went down the rabbit hole of like sports anime, was super into all of this, and Slam Dunk was like... when I first started reading it, it felt like a really like knockoff Kuroko no Basket, which is like totally backwards now that I've like read both of them. But like
right.
just through the art and the characters of Slam Dunk, like it provoked more emotion than any manga I've ever read. I'm not just saying like it was emotional, but like it had a certain energy to it where like when I'm physically holding this book and reading it, like I'm standing up, I'm walking around, I'm like jumping up, and like it was such an emotion invoking manga, and to me like that's the reason why I like it so much. Like getting excited to turn the page, like it's a physical activity. Reading this manga is just so amazing reading.
Oh, okay, all right, that's pretty dope. Fun fact: xForts really likes Slam Dunk, so
it's the GOAT.
Hit him up wearing a Slam Dunk jersey in the DMs, and you might have a shot.
So I own a Sohoku jersey, by the way.
So, that's actually pretty dope. Sick.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on. Number 8. Wow, it's actually this high? Jeez. Number 8 is Grand Blue.
I thought this was a fighting game. What is this? I've never heard of this.
Okay, so Grand Blue...
What is it, Blaze Blue?
No. Wow, Blaze Blue. No, Grand Blue is a comedy series.
Gotcha.
It's a comedy manga. It's actually hilarious. So, essentially, this guy, he goes on to his college life, right? And he joins his uncle's like scuba diving shop and everything, and so he's getting accustomed to now this like party lifestyle and balancing, being in college, right, facing this next chapter in his life. And it's just like it's a bunch of crackheads who like swimming like that, and it's hilarious because you have like I know it might get old for some people, but like the guys can't keep their clothes on. There's a ton of misunderstandings. The facial expressions are the funniest ever. Like, if I had to rank the funniest manga to me, Grand Blue is guaranteed in, like, that top 3, maybe with, like, Mashal or, like, Kaguya-sama. But Grand Blue is just 65 chapters, if I'm not mistaken, 65 chapters of just nonstop funniness. And the artwork's pretty solid as well.
Okay. Has the author gone on to write anything before this or after this that they're known for?
I don't know. I didn't bother really like researching the author. Someone just recommended me to read Grand Blue, and I did. And at first, I didn't like it because previously I'd read like Gintama through the manga, and that made me want to like jump off a cliff because Gintama's just not funny at all in the manga.
Damn. Okay.
And yeah, no, I was starting to think that maybe comedy just doesn't work in manga sometimes. But then I read Grand Blue, and I was like, okay, no, yeah, it does. It does. I don't think it works maybe as well as in anime because of voice acting and musical tone and all of that. But
the thing that I find most funny about specifically manga, at least to me, I prefer reading manga a lot more than anime, especially as the years go on. Like the older I get, like watching 10 episodes of anime sounds so unappealing, but like 5 volumes, I'm like, shit, yeah, I'll read 5 volumes. And at least to me, what I find like really appealing in manga is visual comedy in a way, just characters, expressions, just very subtle details. And I think like if an author knows what they're doing and they're really trying to make you laugh in that way, it can work really well instead of just an anime where it's like, oh, he touched her tits. Like, isn't that so funny? Like, no, not really.
Right. No, right. Yeah, no. Grand Blue is great with that though, like the facial expressions and all that. But I personally wouldn't have it any, like, it's difficult comparing a comedy series to a sports series and then a war series. Like, it's difficult to compare them, but as
it's
a manga,
it's good shit. That's it.
Yeah. I think it's great, but it wouldn't go anywhere near this high. But all right, moving on to number 7. Okay, so number 7 is my number 3.
Your number 3.
It's part of yeah, part of the holy trinity here on this channel is Berserk, Vagabond, Punpun. Punpun actually, no, wrong. Punpun's actually my number 2. Recently I reread it again, and it just, So I know you told me you hadn't read it, right?
I have not read it.
You own it, but you haven't touched it.
I have owned all of it physically because it's one of the best physical releases in English. Like the way that the volumes make a mural on the spine and everything, really good stuff. They're all omnibuses. They're all like really bright and different colors. So the physical volumes of it are really cool looking. And I believe I had read a work so long ago, maybe like 6 years ago. I think it was the same author. It was called The Girl on the Shore, or A Girl on the Shore, something like that.
The Girl on the Shore, yeah.
The Girl on the Shore. I believe it was the same author. And I read that, and I was like, that was fucked up. And then I was like, I'm not touching Punpun for a while. And it's been sitting on my shelf for the past 5 years, and I have not touched it since, because like I just think about The Girl on the Shore, and I'm like, shit.
Yeah, if this video gets 10,000 likes, xForts has to start Punpun. But
I feel like it's just sad. Is it just gonna make me sad? Like,
listen, you know what? Okay, jokes aside with the 10,000 likes, I care for you as a human being.
Yeah, dude, it's just gonna mess me up. Like,
don't. Okay, it's gonna mess you up, but afterwards you're gonna be a lot stronger than you were before. I guarantee it. I guarantee it.
I like that. I like that.
But every time you return to it, you're gonna cry like a little girl again. Like it's
every time I see it, I'm like, this is Punpun. I'm like, okay. Either this is like supernatural in a way, or this is a very deep and just depressing metaphor. The way the Punpun looks.
Oh yeah, it's the second one. You nailed it on the head with the second one.
Like
That's
when I see this,
it.
I'm like, okay, this is like a way a person sees themselves or something like that. And just by looking at the art of it, you can just tell that this is gonna be deep.
Yeah. Let's just move on. I can't
talk
too much about this. Yeah. Number 6 is actually my number 4. I love Monster. I adore it. So Johan is so good as a villain. I love Johan. Yes, and Tenma and Grimmer. Grimmer is an amazing side character. But yeah, Monster is dope.
I have not read Monster, but it is created by probably my second favorite manga of all time, Naoki Urasawa. Absolute genius.
Yes, sir.
I really love the mature stories he writes and the way he uses the medium of manga in such a unique way. And at least to me, like that's what I look at when I think of like my favorite mangakas. It's like, do they use the medium that they're working in to the fullest of its capabilities? Like similar to like Junji Ito, how like everything he writes, he understands that I'm writing a manga, so let's do something we can only do in manga. And I think Urasawa like writes by that same philosophy as well, and it really shows in their work. I don't know if you read 20th Century Boys, but that's like in my top 5 as well. And I had started Monster shortly after finishing 20th Century Boys, and it just didn't hit the same because I was still riding the hype of 20th. And I haven't gone back to it since, but I know the concept of it and the premise sounds super interesting, and I know Urasawa's like gonna kill that whenever I read it. But
yeah, so the thing is 20th Century Boys is in my top 10. It sits at number 9. And his other work, Pluto, is my number 6.
You should ass backwards, man.
Nah, bro, 20th Century Boys is great. Like I love it. I say my only
Pluto ahead of 20th. That's crazy.
Yes, bro. I love Pluto. Crazy. Pluto's dope because for me, I feel like the only issue I have at times with Urasawa's works, and that's only at times, mind you, 20th Century, is it can drag, especially that third act of 20th Century Boys. Mind you, I still think it's a 10 out of 10 series. I just feel like Pluto takes the best Urasawa was capable of doing in 60 chapters. That's like my thing with Pluto. Like I love Pluto. I can go back and read Pluto. 20th Century Boys is great, but I prefer Pluto, and then I prefer Monster above 20th Century and Pluto. Because I read,
I'll feel that.
I read Monster, then 20th Century, then Pluto, and then Billy Bat. Billy Bat.
I haven't read Billy Bat either.
Billy Bat's good. Billy Bat's good. Although I have it below the rest of his works, but not by much.
Yeah. 20th Century Boys is like I've read it a few times, but I think the first time you read it, like,
it's mind-blowing.
It's a little bit confusing. You know, you kind of if you set it down for a week, you might have to reread the previous volume. So it's definitely like really intricate, but just like fully reading that story is so good. I would love to see like a mini series, like a 10-episode mini series or something of that. It would be so good.
No, yeah, it would. But yeah, Monster at 6. But moving on to number 5. I've heard a lot of people have this as their number 1. This used to be my number 2, now my number 3. At number 5 is Vagabond.
Inuo making 2 mangas on the top 10 list. Amazing.
No, yeah, that's impressive for sure. For me, Vagabond is probably one of the most, other than Climber, I think Vagabond is probably the most beautiful manga that I've read in terms of not only artwork, but the message that it conveys, and the way that it goes about it. I love Musashi as a protagonist, and I think Inoue just has an amazing ability of like really making these characters feel human and pull in the audience to a very personal level with his characters. He does this also in Real, the wheelchair basketball series he has, which is also one of my favorites. But Vagabond is just stellar as a manga.
Yeah, Vagabond, haven't read it, but I'll agree with you.
Oh, wow.
I know. I Slam Dunk's my favorite. I love Inuo, but I have not touched Vagabond. The one thing that's like kind of made me sort of a deterrent to starting it is that isn't it just not finished? It's just never going to be finished. It's one of those things where he just like stopped and he's like, and then he started creating another manga. He's like, yeah, Vagabond, whatever.
Yeah.
Same thing with Real. Real's not finished either. He's just like, I'm just whatever.
I think he went back to Real now. I think that's what he did. I hope that's what he did. But with Vagabond, it hasn't had a chapter now like 5-6 years. Although I did a video on it. There is online the official kind of final chapter of Vagabond, where it was shown in like an exhibition. And it's basically the vision that I had for the ending of Vagabond, and you see Musashi as like an old man and everything.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
So it's kind of like unfinished but finished. It is what it is.
Kind of like Berserk, right? Sorry, I had to hit you with that. All right, come on, moving on.
This has been the Asura. Hope everyone has a blessed night.
Well, wait till we get to.
Right.
Yeah, I know Berserk's coming on this. Just wait.
Oh, if they have One Piece above Berserk, we're gonna have problems.
I think One Piece is next. Spoilers, go down.
Full Metal. Oh,
Full
I saw
Metal.
one. Okay,
yeah.
Well,
okay.
So,
Full Metal's 4. One Piece is 3.
One Piece is 3. Yeah. Okay.
Full Metal. We could probably get through quick. Really good
Yeah.
manga. It's been a staple in the Western community for like pretty much since the Western community began in like the early 90s, late 90s, early 2000s. Full Metal, very highly regarded manga. Brotherhood, obviously better than the original, and the manga's Brotherhood. So, yeah, I like it. It's good. It's not in like my top 5 or anything, but it's good. I like all the characters.
I dropped it cause it just couldn't keep me focused.
That's fine. I totally understand that. I think this is just a series that a lot of people grew up with, and for a lot of people, Full Metal Alchemist, especially if you were born in like 95 to 99, sometime around there, like you definitely watched Full Metal growing up, or it was maybe one of those first series that got you into it, and it's just a really interesting concept. But I feel like nowadays, if I was someone that had seen a lot of the current stuff and then tried to watch Full Metal, it definitely doesn't have the same feel to it, or it wouldn't be as interesting because there's so many interesting manga that everyone has access to nowadays. So, but back in the day, and still, it's a really good series.
Right, yeah. So just real quick for me, I can't speak on it entirely as a series. Just at the current moment where I dropped it in the anime, it wouldn't even touch my top 30. But
like I don't even have a problem with that either, because like I can think about it, and I can think about how slow, I guess, at least the original anime was, and a little bit of Brotherhood in the beginning, and like I think that's totally fine compared to how much other stuff you have access to nowadays. Like I Full Metal is good. I wouldn't consider it a must watch or anything, at least to me personally.
Right, yeah. But number 3, One Piece. We don't have to talk about One Piece. We don't have to talk about One Piece. Go ahead.
One thing about One Piece, though. I feel like One Piece is either like you're a fanboy, you love this shit, you breathe this shit, or you can't stand it. You don't even want to touch it. For me, like I'm so neutral on One Piece. When I see it, I'm like, one day.
Oh, I'm neutral too.
I'm like one day I will read One Piece one day. Like hold me to it, like for sure. I haven't started it yet, but like I know some people, like I love the people that are like so adamant about like too long, won't read it, end of story, and I'm like, good for you, man. Like, yeah, it is long, but I genuinely like longer series, and it looks interesting. Oda's world building. I watch a lot of Tekken 101. He's like one of my favorite YouTubers, good guy, good friend. Right. So like I still watch Tekken's videos even though I have no idea what's going on in One Piece, and the way he describes the world building and how a character you see in chapter 8 is now relevant in chapter 800, and you get like just a backstory. Like it looks like good shit, but I just haven't touched it yet, but I will.
Yeah. No, One Piece is an amazing series. Just I mean, you probably see me pop off on Twitter every now and then. Yeah. Me and the One Piece fan base, we kind of have a thing, you know.
It's like
They have a
it's
great
almost like a
series, I just
pastime
don't-
though. Like it's fun to mess with the One Piece fan base because they're so like they're so snappy. They'll bark at you.
I love doing it. No, but as a series, mind you, I do have to catch up on Wano. But I am pretty.
Oh, so you've started it.
Yeah, I was pretty far in it. Like I was in the arc before Wano, which is the most recent one. So
Gotcha.
I'd gotten pretty far, but for me, it's a series that, because of a lot of the mangas that I have read, and personally my preference in stories, One Piece great series, one of the best shonen out there, but doesn't make my top 25. So let's move on to number 2. And that's
Steel Ball Run. Oh yeah, this one. I know a thing or two about this one.
Do you really?
Yeah, I do.
Have you ever read JoJo's xForts?
Yeah, I've read JoJo's once or twice.
Once or twice.
I could tell you a thing or two about JoJo. I know my way around
Right.
to JoJo. I'll put it that way.
Right. You ever thought doing a video on it?
Maybe one day. So with Steel Ball Run, the reason why I think it's number 2, I don't think it's deserving of the number 2 spot when it comes to greatest manga of all time. Like, it's good, but it's JoJo. And JoJo is niche. JoJo is specific, and I don't think a series to reach number 2 is like, yeah, here's the series, but like if you don't understand JoJo, you're not gonna like. In order to fully experience Steel Ball Run, you have to read parts 1 through 6.
1 through 6.
Because like every little reference is just it's payoff. Every bit of Steel Ball Run is just big payoff. And it's sort of a celebration. Araki wrote, he called it a renaissance of this series. So it is a celebration of JoJo in a way. And you can read part 7 without anything else, but it just won't have as much life as otherwise.
Right.
So it's just, but the thing with this, why I think it's so high is that like, so JoJo fans, it's kind of like a cult. Like if someone starts reading JoJo, they're going down that JoJo rabbit hole and they're going to be obsessed with the series for 6 to 12 months. Possibly more. Like you're either in or you're out when it comes to JoJo. If you ever see someone where it's like, started JoJo the other day, like I can foresee the next 2 years of their life. Okay. Like they're just going to be obsessed with it pretty much. So
right.
I think Steel Ball Run is so high up because, at least for me, I think it's the pinnacle of the series when it comes to Araki's artwork and his writing and everything working together, even more so than Part 8, even though I love Part 8. But Steel Ball Run, the quality of it is just so incredibly high in terms of just writing and art. It's the highest, I think it's the peak of the series. And so if you get to Part 7, you're a JoJo fan, you like all of the other parts, and then when you get to Part 7, obviously, you're going to consider it like the best thing ever because it's already like a part in your favorite series and then it's the best part in your favorite series. So I think a lot of people on my enemy list, for example, would just be like 10 out of 10, so good. But in terms of overall manga, like maybe like top 10, but not number 2. Number 2 favorite JoJo part or number 1 or something, but all manga, I think in terms of actual quality, this list is a bit inflated by popularity. I think it'd be a bit lower. All right, number one.
Yeah.
I wonder what it's gonna be. Oh, it's Berserk. God, there he is.
Yeah. So it's actually ironic. xForts video, masked video, JoJo's in Berserk, right there.
Yeah.
So I'll make the case for this one. I'm surprised that it's number 1 on my anime list. When people told me that, I was actually very shocked. I thought it was gonna be like very low, in comparison to a One Piece, because Berserk, just like Pun Pun, just like JoJo's, is not for everybody. And I think that specifically applies to a series like Berserk. A series like One Piece, part of its greatness is its ability to touch all ages. You cannot sell Berserk to a 12-year-old or a 15-year-old. You shouldn't. Like you legally, it may be possible. Financially, morally, no. Berserk is, for me, I think, because you were talking about it earlier, what is manga, what for me defines manga. And I think when you talk about artwork, the ability to create a story, and like I said with pull you in close to the characters, all of it, Berserk is like an experience. And I think if you just block out the noise, block out Twitter, block out whatever, because I know a lot of people get into many different series with very biased opinions beforehand, right?
Yeah.
And, for me, this manga is, I would not be here with the channel that I have if it wasn't for me encountering Berserk and then talking about it and then doing videos on it. And it's a series that I go back to constantly to analyze and to read, because it's, for me, this is truly the greatest manga of all. I've done a video making the case for it, and there are many other mangas you can make the argument for, right? It's definitely a subjective and debatable thing at the end of the day, but it's pretty obvious I have a love for this series. I'm not gonna hide it, but it's not for everybody. It's very adult. It covers a lot of psychological themes that have to do with Jung's theory and some of the philosophies with Nietzsche. It incorporates a lot of religious imagery. So if you're somebody that isn't, if you're somebody who isn't interested in that kind of stuff in your story, then it won't appeal to you. Also, with the gratuitous rape and the nudity, it is an adult manga, and it's not soft with it, you know, like it just kind of hits you with it, and some people don't stomach that kind of stuff, and I understand that perfectly. There's some mangas that you read and you're disgusted by, and Berserk will probably be one of those mangas, but I think I said enough.
Let me tell you my experience with Berserk, okay? Because I have read a bit of Berserk. The first time I had experience with this series was back in 2016, I believe, when I was reading a lot of stuff. And I don't know about you, but at least for me, like, I like reading physical a lot. So if I have the option, I'll choose to read physical, and I'll choose to, like, let it take as long as it wants. Like, I've read a lot of series where I'll read a volume a month or a volume every 2 months, because that's when the volumes come out. Unless I'm reading something like Jojo, obviously, where I'm caught up to it, then I'll read digital.
Right.
I've been reading a bit more digital lately, but with Berserk, I picked up the first 20 volumes way back in the day, and I was super excited to get into it. And one day I read like 8 volumes, and the next day I read 3, and I was super into it. And then I got to volume 10 or 11, and I don't think I made it to I was like either just getting into the Golden Age arc or just before it. You could probably tell me where like volume 10 is.
So for sure, volume 10, you were definitely already in Golden Age.
Okay, I think I think one of the last things that happened was like Griffith they rejected his humanity in terms of like Jojo words or whatever. You know, he did that whole thing where he like transformed into whatever he turns into.
Oh, Femto. You were at that part.
That's around 10, right? Isn't it?
Well, okay, so in between that section, between volume 10 and between volume 10 through, I think it's 10 through 13 is where the eclipse happens.
Yeah, I was at the eclipse, and I just woke up one day, and I never read it again, and I don't think about the series at all anymore. And like for some reason, every time I see Berserk, I think back to like my experience reading it, and I'm like, I don't know why. I'm just like that. Like, I'll be like, yeah, that was a really good series. I liked it. I don't want to read it anymore or something like that. But like, I'm sure if I got back into it and I started from volume 1, like I remember every chapter I was like, oh yeah, that's raw. Oh yeah, that's sick. Oh yeah, that's dope. But either other things had caught my attention during the time. That's when I was kind of getting into YouTube a little bit more with JoJo. So that probably took over. But the thing with Berserk is that like you just talked about how you thought it was so amazing and incredible. I don't see what makes it so unique. I know the artwork is amazing, but in terms of like the characters, nothing about it screams like one of a kind to me. At least, although I'm a bit biased because before I had read Berserk, I had read Claymore, all of it, all the way through. And what I've heard is that Claymore is very similar to Berserk. The quality might not be exactly as Berserk, but it's a very similar series. So for me, I was like, I was seeing a lot of the Claymore elements, and I think maybe I was a bit exhausted on that genre a bit. But
they're both dark fantasies. Claymore's called the Shonen Berserk, which is, so it's interesting that you read it before. But so like to the point where you were at with the story, especially now that you told me like you read Claymore right before it, there isn't really much of a difference, I would say. So when it comes to like Guts as a protagonist in the Golden Age is where you really get a lot of him, but you don't get like it's just like dipping its toes into the water in Golden Age with Guts' character. It's the next 2 arcs afterwards where Berserk really kind of separates itself in the dark fantasy genre, and Guts as a character becomes more than what he is in Golden Age, and even with Griffith and some of the other characters that you get. So the thing is
I don't know why.
a large motivation to keep reading Berserk is when you find out the consequences of the eclipse, because then you're already halfway through the eclipse. You're gonna be so pissed. Listen, if you finish the eclipse, Forts, I promise you, dog, if you finish the eclipse, you got to hit me up immediately. You cannot tell me you're not going to be viscerally pissed.
I got it. I literally know.
Yeah.
I literally know. Because,
okay, all right.
Because the series, I'm looking through the volumes right now, physical volumes. If you don't know Berserk, own it. It's coming out with a new omnibus release now, which is pretty dope. But in the beginning of it, Guts has like that mark, and like the monsters are coming for him, and it's like, okay, so like Hunt's is being like tracked down or something. And then you start the series like that, and then you go back in time and you see him as a kid, and him and Griffith are like naked, chasing each other around, all that shit. You know, they're like throwing the buckets of water at him.
Yeah.
Naked. Yeah, that's happening. So, and then I'm like, and like, if you're on Twitter, you know that Griffith is the bad guy. You know he betrays him, all that bullshit. And so I'm like, okay, so Griffith is gonna brand Guts with this mark, and what happens, at least I assumed by reading it, is that he like brands Guts, and forever Guts is being like hunted down by monsters of the underworld or some shit. So he dooms him essentially.
Oh, I wish that was it.
Is that it?
Oh no, bro, it's so much worse what Griffith does in that second half of the eclipse. Yeah. If I wish that was it. That's what I'm saying.
I know he has his way with Casca as well.
Okay, so then there's that. Yeah.
I honestly wasn't too surprised about that part.
Right.
But that is a pretty terrible thing to do.
Yep. So yeah, he does that, and then Griffith goes on after the eclipse to basically spit in Guts' face by like doing certain other things.
But yeah, that's kind of where it comes from. He does the thing. Oh my god, this series is fucked. This art is good though. I'm reading. If for anyone who wants to know what panel I was just looking at where I said this is fucked, I'm at the end of volume 9. That's all I'll say.
Oh yeah.
You might not know that, but the readers can look it up.
Yeah.
But that's Berserk. Maybe I will get back into it because I have about 10 extra volumes that I haven't read yet sitting.
Oh man, for sure. Because for some people, Golden Age, they see it as Golden Age. You learn to appreciate more after reading Conviction, and then Conviction you appreciate more after reading the arc after that. Yeah,
I'm in Golden Age. Golden Age is back in time, and then Golden Age ends at the eclipse.
Mm-hmm. It ends right after the eclipse. So you see Guts, like, that's when he decides to become the Black Swordsman, is like right after the eclipse, you know. But by the way, if I have gotten you to read Berserk, like, let me know in the comment section below. I love reading comments like that. Like, yo, you got me into this series. That always gives me a boner. Wait, what? So yeah, this has been the video, the top 10 manga according to CBR and my anime list. This turned out to be a lot longer than we were expecting, but nonetheless, that's dope. This is going to be a part 1 of a 2 video, like xForts said. If you are new to the channel, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and turn on the bell notifications. I'll also be leaving the link to xForts channel down in the description below as well. As always, this has been the Osro. Hope everyone has a blessed rest of the day, and peace.
Thanks for watching, y'all.